Reverse disputed election bring about a popular uprising, and Laurent Gbagbo takes power from a military leader. Ouattara is excluded from that poll because his parents are not Ivorian, but the former Prime Minister refuses to back out of politics, and a year later he shows he's still got a lot of popular support, winning a majority in local elections. Then 2002, the war breaking out when dissident soldiers mutiny in Abidjan, rebel forces take the north. And this conflict continues on and off until a power-sharing deal. That was 2007, a peace deal, power-sharing there, which called these elections. Let's go to London, talk to Ayo Johnson, Director of Viewpoint Africa, an organisation focusing on news from the continent. Do you see a way in which this can be resolved pretty quickly, or is it going to be very difficult to sort it out?
Well, it's kind of embarrassing. It has to be sorted out. What you can't have is when the will of the people have spoken for an individual, in the case of Mr. Gbagbo, to be able to hold the country to ransom. Clearly, Thabo Mbeki going there is a step in the right direction by the African Union, but invariably we will see what we've seen clearly in places like Zimbabwe, what we've seen in Kenya. A unity government of some description will be brought about, and the two marriages of inconveniences or conveniences would have to happen. But it's not going to work. No one's going to benefit from this. So it's a difficult time for Ivorians currently, and the region as a whole doesn't need it.
Well, what's it going to take for Laurent Gbagbo to step aside?
Well, it's going to take a lot. International pressure, that's one way. It's going to take people within the country itself to say, we do not accept this, you must step down. He himself has got to understand that he can't continue having the support from the army. The army has got to become responsible. And of course, I think internationally, it would be isolation, it would be external pressures that would involve some level of financial support for the country. And hopefully, he may see some sense. But his country is going to be facing sanctions and international isolation and untold pressure from all sides. And eventually, he will have to relinquish power, one shape or another, I would think.
How difficult is it going to be to prevent a return to the violence that we saw during the course of the last decade?
Well, we've seen wars in that country. We've seen how unstable it actually has been. We've seen the divide of the country between North and South, the Muslim North and the Christian South. And what we don't want is to go back to that status quo. But clearly, that's what's happening now. The two leaders have made it very clear that they're in charge of the country, and we can't have two leaders. It's very, very difficult. It remains to be seen how credible Thabo Mbeki can be and how successful his talks would be. And moving forward, I think it's difficult all around. But I think our Ivorians are asking for change. The will of the people have got to be listened to, and it makes an entire mockery of the whole political process in Ivory Coast, and not to mention the judiciary and the electoral process itself.
Thank you very much, Ayo Johnson. Good to have you on the programme.
Has happened between supporters of the former Prime Minister, Salou Dalein Diatta,